What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome along. We are in one of the most exciting times of the year as far as new game releases are concerned, but we're here to talk about one game in particular, and that is FIFA 19. It's going to be myself, Onset, and Chris Trout, just talking all things FIFA, Chris. It's going to be awesome to talk about, but the biggest thing that's come out of the reveal that we should probably start with is, of course, the Champions League licensing is coming to FIFA 19.
Well, it's a fantastic bit of news. There's so much creativity that can come along with that, both on offline and online game modes. I'm very excited to see what exactly they have in store for us.
Yeah, and the best thing for us, of course, is I'm an Arsenal fan, you're a Chelsea fan. We can put ourselves into the Champions League again. We're all good. We're going to be back in there. Also, the Europa League will be in there. No. So, you know, we won't talk about that. You know, it's not good for us. But I can get to the semi-final, at least in FIFA 19, and get knocked out again. So, realism. Anyway, let's talk about a bit more about the esports side of things, because, you know, that's where our speciality is. That's what we want to talk about most. Some of the changes that we've seen, some of the information that's come out from the EA Play event, we've seen a couple of guys on Twitter talking about the gameplay, etc., and had some information from EA Sports as well. Let's start off by talking about dynamic tactics, because I know you love your tactics, you love things like that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Love me my tactics. I mean, there's a lot of nitty-gritty individual instructions you can add to your play style, the gameplay, player instructions, lots of tactical depth, being able to adjust the width and how many people are going forward for corners and attacking play. You can have this confirmation of tactics, so you know when you would ask your players to swap wings, or you'd ask to play a possession-based game, you weren't actually sure if it was actually on or for how long it lasted.
Yeah.
So they've now added a toggle system where you can turn it on and off, so you know exactly if it's on or not. It's also the plan ahead strategy, where you can pretty much give yourself custom tactics in presets. So instead of having to pause a game, maybe you've run out of pauses because you've made a few substitutions, and tactics on the fly you can now set to a certain situation depending on where you are in the game.
That's going to be cool, because that might add to the viewer experience, especially on the esports side of things. You see a lot of pauses at the moment in FIFA 18, a lot of changes, but having those on the fly is going to be pretty cool indeed. Now, one thing I want to talk about, we'll talk about mechanics a little bit, is the adjustments to the shooting mechanisms that are going to be used in games. So now you've got to time your shots. It's not just a case of hitting the shoot button when you get into a good position and, you know, hoping for the best and almost guaranteeing yourself a goal. You've now got to time those shots, which is going to make it much more interesting. We commentated a lot of FIFA 18, and we talk about the low-driven shot and how we said it so many more times. But this is going to give real variety to the finishing that's in the game.
Absolutely. I think it's going to add more skill to the whole factor. I think right now, where FIFA is, it's quite robotic in how the shooting technique works. You just kind of get to a certain position, you almost know it's going to be a goal. I think it just adds to that skill gap. It adds a little bit more of a brain engagement as well, and it also makes those higher valued players, those better players, that much more valuable, because you can imagine those lower tier players are probably not going to be so good at getting the timing down.
No, that's true, but it does also mean when you get those bronze and silver teams, you can still hit those nice shots. You just got to be very, very good, basically, to hit the back of the net, which is going to be interesting. Obviously, when you get those starter teams, you can still give yourself a chance to finish off the chances you create. But another thing to talk about is the active touch system, and this is something I know that you're looking into quite a lot, and you're looking forward to getting your hands on, because it could be potentially a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, definitely, especially going forward and even in defence. It just allows you to have a better touch with more areas of the body. Obviously, being in real life, it's a lot more dynamic. You can touch the ball wherever and you can make the perfect touch. With the game, it's a little bit more rigid, and now they're kind of making it flow a bit better. It's a little bit more authentic to real life and create so many more options. So if you are playing more difficult balls, you can actually stand a chance of making a good touch. I also like this feint attack that they seem to have introduced
really cool
into the game.
This sounds really cool.
Where you can use your body in more ways than just with the ball. So you can actually feint the ball one way. You can feint your body towards a certain direction before the ball reaches you, and then as it reaches you, take a touch in a different direction, kind of fooling your opponents.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. And another thing that I want to talk about, you know, fooling a little bit, which is something I'm excited about, is goalkeepers. There's been some information coming out saying that there's the option to manually control your goalkeeper in-game. Now, there's two sides to this. I'm looking forward to the pros and how they use this, because any new mechanic, they're obviously looking to get the most out of. And I just foresee, you know, one-on-one situations where a player goes through on goal, a pro player switching to his goalkeeper and then making a great save, for example. That could be something really cool. But also on the other side of things, we could see some massive mistakes made by manually controlling a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think I'd have to see it in practical use before I could really make a judgment call. You could have that situation where it's pro clubs-esque and it's very hard to beat the keeper without a serious guaranteed goal moment, or it could be quite an interesting little mechanic that's quite fair, adds that last-ditch effort to make sure you don't concede and makes them for some really scandalous moments.
Yeah, I'm looking for scandalous moments. I like scandalous moments. Let's talk about something that might seem like a little minor change, but actually it might impact the game quite a lot. And that is, of course, the secondary player markings that are coming into the game. Tell us a little bit about that and how you think it could influence it.
So obviously when you're second man pressing, you've got this situation where you don't really know who it is that's going to push for the ball. It's more likely going to be the guy who's closest to the defender you're controlling. It's a little bit hard to kind of judge if you've got a clump of players all situated around them. You're not too sure who's going to actually push for the ball. Now with a grey marker above that second player, you know who's going to go and push for the ball, who's going to go and attack it and help you in your defensive situation. It also lets you know who you're going to switch to if you press the LB or the L1 button, switching to whatever player that is. So you don't have those messy situations where you go, oh no, I meant to switch to that guy, or I'm not sure who's actually going to switch to. So I think overall it makes for a very good tactical awareness for your defensive situation.
I think it's cool on the other side of things as well. As an attacker, if you as you say, if you can see those secondary player markings as well, you can see potentially where the space might open up on the pitch. You might be looking to maybe if you can hit a few skill moves and open up that space, then there might be a chance to be creative with that as well on the offensive side of things. So that's pretty cool as well. Let's talk about things that we want to see in FIFA 19. We've had a little bit of information, as we say. We've seen a few things come out. We've had the trailer, but what would you like to see in FIFA 19 moving forward? Something that you really want to see in the game?
Something I'd really like to see is kind of capitalising on the success of the World Cup mode that we've had out in FIFA 18, and that's kind of like a bare bones Ultimate Team mode where it's more about playing the game in your progression in building your team rather than putting a bit of money into it and all of a sudden having a fantastic team, rewarding you for the game time that you put into it.
Oh, that's something I really want to see, to be honest. Like, for example, you play 100 games, you should be rewarded for playing 100 games in FIFA 19. You should get, say, 10,000 Ultimate Team coins, 200, it goes up in increments, because you see players, they play thousands and thousands of games of FIFA Ultimate Team. And I just think if you're playing the game, you should be rewarded, you should be encouraged to keep playing so that you can get those rewards, you can get those big players in your squads. Now, something I'm looking forward to, and I'm moving away from Ultimate Team a little bit, is focusing on career mode again. And I want to see some more in-depth changes to it. And I'm talking about transfers. Transfers at the moment, you can be Grimsby Town, for example, and you can work your way up to the Premiership, and then if you get the budget behind you, you can go and sign pretty much any player in the world. You could have, Lionel Messi playing for you if you have the budget. I want to see that really elongated. We talk about transfer sagas. I want transfer sagas in the game. I want, back and forth between players. I want players making decisions on the last moment to go and sign for another club. Agents getting involved as well. I just think that would add such an awesome amount of realness to the game.
Add a bit more prestige to the journey of it all.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine, you finally get hold of that player you've been after, even for 2 seasons. Yeah. You finally get him signed up and you get him in your squad. And then when you are playing with him, you're like, I finally got him on my team. This is a good moment. What about you? Anything extra you want to add? I think there's one thing we discussed before is pro clubs, definitely, right? We both love pro clubs.
Well, that is what got me into FIFA in the first place, pro clubs. It's such a nice thing to do with your friends, a bit more of a casual game mode, but I like to see you get, again, rewarded for the game time you're putting in and the amount of time you're putting in. I think we're all guilty of the fact that we've made a club with our friends for a couple hours, had a bad record, and then deleted the club.
I do that.
Moving on to the next one. I like to see a little bit more progression, like the AI players around your club start to progress with you, and you can actually dictate what attributes go up and,
I want this.
Kind of customize their height and their weight and everything that you can customize about your own individual player. Obviously, to an extent, you can then customize about your AI players, because at the moment they progress very slightly, but once you're in that Division 1, they can pretty much cost you an entire game.
I don't like as well. In pro clubs at the moment, you can go from one game where your centre back might be 6'2" and have 80 pace for whatever reason. The next game he's 5'11" and he's got 30 something pace. It's just something you can't control, but to almost grow with your team in pro clubs as you move through divisions is going to be something absolutely awesome. But I think that's done us. That's going to be our thoughts on FIFA 19, what we've seen, what we want to see going forward as well. But of course, the game comes out on September the 28th, so we can all get our hands on it and find out exactly what FIFA 19 has in store for us. We'll see you next time.